Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 147, and today we're going to be playing with Lulu daring Poros. But before we dive in to talk about Lulu, I felt like this is an appropriate deck, A, because I'm considering playing it in seasonals, and B, because the Sneezy Biggledust does play quite interestingly with the new LOR only champion coming at us in Norra. And so Norra, I have a few comments on her. She has become one of the more wildly divisive champions across the community, based solely on this mysterious portal effect. And so mysterious portal is a boon. This is exactly what the chimes were. The chimes would attach to a card in our deck. Whenever we draw that card, then a unit in our hand would get +1/+1. Mysterious Portal functions in the same way, to where it attaches to cards in your deck. When you draw that card, now with the Mysterious Portal, you'll summon a random 2 or 3 cost follower, and then if your board is full, you create a 0 cost copy of that unit with fleeting and put it in your hand. So if you have the full board, you don't necessarily just lose out on the summoned unit. And this is bringing a lot of controversy, a lot of RNG tied up into this effect. It not only gets attached to random cards within the top of your deck, it then summons randomly sized units, which is a somewhat curated collection of units that Riot isn't fully disclosing. And so I get it. I feel like this one does definitely have a lot more potential for hatred in terms of the chimes. When the chimes hit early, your opponent was getting 2 stats, and now if a mysterious portal hits early and it hits on a 3-cost card, then you're likely to get about 6 stats out of it. And so there's a lot of very RNG heavy, high rolly aspects to this kind of thing happening. We haven't seen the extent of the portal cards, but I feel like they're more reasonably costed than we would see out of the chimes. With the chimes, you had Bird at 1 mana, Esmuth at 2. Bard started planting them in your deck starting at the very first turn of the game, and so they had a lot more opportunities to deliver some impact in the early game than we would see out of Norra. And so from that sense, I get it. I'm going to have to kind of see how it feels if making an investment in a random 2 or 3 cost card on turn 6 of the game, or not getting access to it until turn 6 of the game, is really that powerful. I don't feel like this is a super strong card, but it's going to kind of depend on the rest of the build around cast and how quickly we're able to activate it. And so the other cards, I can't remember if there were more spoiled than this, but Eclectic Collection is the only other one that I'm currently aware of that generates these portals. This generates 3 chimes in the top 10 cards, 1 mysterious portal in the top 10, and then traps and poison puff caps in your opponent's deck. Just the RNG fest of of cards, if you will. But at the end of the day, my stance on Norra is I have 3 things to comment on it with her. First and foremost, I think this card's just not going to be very good. I feel like this is just going to be a dud, at least in terms of competitive play. Now, that will come down to whether or not the supporting cast is strong, but I feel like Norra isn't a card that you really want to deploy in the early game. It's just something that's going to get shut down quite easily, and then it's going to kind of count on the late gameness of the 4, 5, and 6 and 7 cost summons out of the mysterious portals, and it takes a lot of work to get to that point. And so I'm curious as to how strong that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that strong, but point 2 is I feel like Riot will handle it okay. They've done a pretty spectacular and stellar job, in my opinion, of keeping things balanced, and then their willingness to kind of rework and balance and retune things on a pretty regular basis, that if we have to deal with a month of Norra and the portals being shitty in the format, that I feel like they'll come in and edit them down reasonably. Now, we do run into some kind of spots as to where, they had the inkling that Bard was just a little bit too strong. They didn't deal with him at the end of the first month. They actually boosted Bard at the end of the first month, and then they kind of brought the hammer down at the second one. Fine, that is what it is. But I think I have pretty much at this point full confidence in Riot that if things get out of hand in terms of mysterious portals and Norra and these generated kind of effects, that they will take appropriate action to get those cards out of the game. And so I feel like Norra is probably more in the realm of what we expected Bard to be. This feels like something that's going to be quite fun and interesting out in the lands of Path of Champions. It seems like something that would be fun to cruise around in the normals and the lower tiers of competitive play, but not something that I really expect to see highlighting the top tier Masters queues and the like. Now, the last and the third point I wanted to say, I've brought this up in all the videos throughout this release cycle, and that just being, I'm curious what Riot's plans are for a standard format, if you will. It's getting to be about that time, right? All of the games, or most of the games, I should say, I don't want to lump everyone in, follow kind of a 2-year cycle of a standard format. That is what allows Riot as a developer to keep the power creep pushed down, right? As we add more and more and more cards into the game, that limits the ability of the new cards to be impactful. And so if only 30% of the cards ever get played in any constructed format, and we just continue and add more and more and more cards, that likeliness of impact out of the new ones is much lower. And so I suspect we'll start to see something like that soon. I'm curious if the delay in getting a roadmap delivered, I think the new head dev said that the roadmap was supposed to come out in like June or something, and then that clearly hasn't happened. I think they may have said summer. Summer is almost gone. And so I'm curious if that is something tied into the roadmap and what's going to be coming up ahead. But I'm curious as to how they'll manage this power creep aspect of do we just overtune the new champions and then tune them down later once people are tired of playing with them for the first month, or are we going to get a nice standard cycle? Because it's tough for them because they have to rework the foundation set as well, right? If they want to rotate foundations out of constructed, that has the core 6 initial factions in the game. It didn't have Bilgewater, Bandle City, Shurima. I think it was six or seven, whatever. Anyways, it's really skewed towards a particular set of factions, and they'd have to kind of rework foundations. Anyways, I'm curious as to what the plan for the future is, and that's another kind of thing that can cycle into the power of Norra and make her strong, is if they have a definitive plan for a standard format. But nonetheless, Norra, quick take, hot take, I think you're going to be garbage. Last but not least, I am a little bit interested in these other 2 cards that were initially spoiled with Norra. The Realm's Caretaker. This is a exceptionally powerful ability, and giving the entirety of your board +1/+1 and impact as you get to round turn 6 of the game. That's not a particularly challenging point to be hitting a boon every turn. And so I'm curious if the Realm's Caretaker is able to break through. One of the kind of game-ending problems with Bandle City is that they don't have the overwhelm, elusive, or rally aspect to end off a game. And if we're able to use impact instead of those other abilities, then it gives them a path to victory. Now, I do feel like this card is probably undertuned. It's probably about a turn too expensive for this ability to be extra relevant, but I think that's kind of an interesting take on Bandle City in terms of you need a way to end the game when stats just aren't enough, and if you get to load up a bunch of impacts, that's a potential way to do it. The other card here, Living Library in the middle, I just see it and go, LOL, let's put a Papercraft Dragon on here. It's already a fairy, but it's kind of interesting if you're playing Papercraft Dragon decks like we like to do here, that you're either just playing Living Library to where you can have this 6 attack double striking elusive on turn 6 of the game fairly easy. You can do it on turn 5 if you have a Fairy Lantern on the board. And then it's also another interesting card that can be generated out of a Phase Sprout. It does limit your chances of finding the quote-unquote good ones out of things like Rainbow Fish and Papercraft Dragon, but being able to generate an elusive out of the Fairies deck is quite interesting. And then if you're playing either the library plus Papercraft Dragon itself or taking some other kind of route, that does give you a nice game-ending unit out of those face sprouts. So it's an interesting card to come up. Wanted to give him a little bit of a highlight before we got into the action here. But with that out of the way, back to the action here. We're going to be playing Mono Lulu today, and I think this is kind of interesting. And so we've been trying to finish off our seasonals lineup. I'm pretty content to play Kaisa. I'm pretty content to play Scouts. The main idea with our lineup is that we want to just ban out Kaisa and then be decent enough against Pirates. If we can be good against Pirates and Darkness, I feel like that would be ideal. That's what we see out of Kaisa and out of Scouts, but if we can't get it out of the third deck, I'm okay with that. I would like that third deck to be okay against Pirates, though. And so this deck does have a lot of the things you should need to be good against Pirates. It has a lot of this kind of early game pop from where we have these cheap units that we can throw on board. Being able to burst Flame Chompers onto the board can help us kind of mitigate our opponent's really one-drop heavy draws, and then we have a nice removal package out of the Mystic Shot, Pokestick, Get Excited. It's another way to take advantage of our opponent flooding the board and our opponent's open attacks when we can kind of respond to their aggressiveness. And so this was also a deck that it was historically played with Yordles in Arms, right? I'm thinking to maybe like 2 seasonals ago, where Yordles and Arms was really popping off. Some people played it last seasonals as well if you were looking to bring a triple Boom Baboon lineup. But I'm not the hugest fan of Yordles and Arms right now. There's just too much Shurima running around to where you can get your spell negated, but this is a powerful strategy against a lot of what we're seeing in the format, to where you need to either attack through with Overwhelm, attack around with Elusive, or attack twice with Rallies. This is our typical anti-Sun Disc strategy, and the Biggledust fits in a nice role here. And so that is the kind of anti-control measure as to where we're trying to get this big elusive attack coming out of our Poro Cannon units. It can be fairly tough for the control decks to answer that kind of threat. The other interesting thing with this is still one of the most powerful plays that we can make in the game is generating a Flame Chompers and then attacking with Lulu on turn 3. And so if we have a way to get a Flame Chompers, we're naturally drawing it, or just playing a Boom Baboon on turn 2, and then playing Lulu on turn 3, it's just such a big board takeover when you burst that Flame Chompers down and get a massive attack in. And so we are playing the kind of extra ways to chase after this strategy. There is the 3 copies of Poro Cannon, but we have the 2 additional copies of Scrap Heap. A lot of people playing this style of deck have started to look towards the Augment dude that Riot keeps trying to push. He keeps getting a boost in every set, the 2-drop. I can't remember what he's officially called. We're not playing him here. We're focused a little bit more heavily on the Boom Baboon aspect here, the burn aspect, and then not particularly playing a value game with the Mecha Yordles. But this is it. I'm curious to see how these games go, see if this is something that we would want to fit in as the final piece of our lineup, or if we want to just say maybe play something a little bit more similar to Scouts like Poppy Tarek, or if we could take the alternate direction here. Ultimately, I felt like it was pretty relevant, playing our Sneezy Biggledust along with the likes of Norra, the summoned units coming at us everywhere. But with that out of the way, the pay-to-win price has been paid. We are all premium except for our epics at this point. And let's go ahead and jump on in. 69 LP, the nicest way to get the battle started. And we are good to go. And so, yeah, I've been playing a bit of Poppy Tarek. That's the other one that's kind of a interesting fit into our lineup. I didn't like playing Bard Poppy enough. It just didn't rub me the right way in terms of having enough power and enough pop for what we're trying to pull off. Poppy Tarek is a decent fit in that it has a very similar matchup table to Scouts, and a lot of the positive matchups are similar there, but I ultimately worry playing that full set of similar decks and our opponent's abilities to potentially come down and counter that, to where if you're trying to play a lineup that's good against Scouts, it's probably good against Poppy Tarek, and then we can run into spots that it's tough to beat both of our opponent's decks. But We'll see how we feel. But here, this is another deck that's starting to be kind of a rising star of the Masters format. I've seen an exceptional number of Nasus Kindred over the past few days, and I can't decide if Nasus Kindred is going to be a deck in this format like where we saw a whatchamacallit, the Gnar decks in the previous one, or if it's just going to kind of fall flat as the as seasonals approaches. But I feel like the most common deck I've been seeing over the past 2 days is Pirates, and then the next most common deck would actually be this Nasus Kindred. And I did have a lot of this particular deck in mind as we assembled this, as it's a deck that has a bit of a struggle in dealing with the daring Poro attack plan. And so I'm curious to see how this matchup plays out. But as this hand was started, we just automatically had the Lulu start. And so we would have been able to Poro cannon down the Flame Chompers and get a good attack in. But he has a counter here right at the beginning. A little unfortunate, but that's a big tempo play from our opponent to lose out like that. And so hopefully we just get a nice recovery out of this. Quite interested to see what we're able to scrap heap here. What up, Ridge? Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of the old Flame Chompers. Anything cool in here? That's what we need. We just need something cool. And a reasonable amount of power coming out of the Dune Hopper mech. This is just a gigantic dude with a board where our opponent just spent a lot of mana on a big removal spell. And so they won't be able to Vengeance the Dune Hopper mech next turn. They can, maybe cause some trouble with the likes of... Oh, I'm just picking up a Shock Blast. Wow, this is a big one. We can just Shock Blast the Kindred now if we want. But where that story was going is he shouldn't have the ability to take down our Dune Hopper mech next turn. Okay. So let's see how this goes. I don't feel the need to directly interact with this Kindred, at least at the moment. The scary thing with this style of plan is he can block the Sand Soldier, and then the Sand Soldier will move the mark from Kindred, but it's going to be kind of awkward blocks for them if that's the case that they want to pursue. I realistically just don't care a ton here. I'm pretty okay with losing Flame Chompers this round. Brings in the Undying. Okay, so the way that this combat should go is we're going to summon the two Sand Soldiers, then the Kindred will kill the Flame Chompers, and then the Flame Chompers, or the Kindred mark will move over to a Sand Soldier. This is pretty close to just hitting for lethal as well, right? We've got him to 15 with the Shock Blast in hand. Not a bad world to be living in. Bringing in a Hate Spike. Sure. Still a really nice boom of damage here. Got him down to 3. I was thinking in my head that they were going to Vile Feast, and that would take them up to 4. But now, again, we're looking pretty strong. I like it. I like it. Get excited. Cool. I've been living through this kind of real existential struggle over the past few days, and that I want to play both Pirates and Scouts, but you can't, right? You can't double up on the misfortunes, and so it's been kind of sad. I'm pretty convinced that I do just want to come out and play Scouts, but I want, it's like start to moving down the line to being like, man, I want to play decks with Decimate in it because those are the funnest decks in the world. and just not being able to quite get where we need to in terms of the decks I want to play. All right, this is fine. So we don't kill the Kindred, but he doesn't get the flip. Or I'm sorry, he doesn't have like a lethal coming off of this flip. We can just go ahead and deploy a Poro and see if that's enough. And then in the event that it's not, we have Get Excited in our hand. I feel like we're going to be okay here. Says, uh-oh. Bust bringing the Poros. All right, Broheim, get in there. Do your thing. Uh-oh, he's got a card. 8 spike, sure. See if he's got a Rite of Negation coming out of this as well. Oh my gosh, he's going to have it all? Okay. That's a problem. Go ahead and mark that as a problem. Ugh. So let's see. We got some time here still. Let's play the Zonite Urchin, cycle out the Daring Poro, see if we find another burn spell. We didn't, but it's going to take him a bit of time to get rolling next turn, and so we have another chance to draw a burn spell, and then we do still have this Treasured Trash to pick up 10 spells or so. Brutal. I wonder if we're more likely to win with Conchologist than we would be with Treasured Trash. We get all of the P and Z cards coming out of the Conchologist, but I feel like we'd probably rather just draw 10 randos. So close with that last turn. It's like when you don't open there, you're giving them a lot of opportunity to take down all of your guys. It gives them the chances to play their slow speed removals and stuff. And it's tough. All right, let's see if this one gets negated as well. Okay, all right. Give us that nice collection of 8 cards. We hit a Decimate in here. Nothing at burst speed. So we might have a bit of struggle from that aspect, but it's given us a chance to drop Decimates. I appreciate it. Okay. Not enough. Not enough to take us down today. Our play, questionable. Our win, undeniable. But yeah, that Nasus deck, that's the one. It apparently has a good matchup against Kaisa. Looks like from its matchup table, it gets murdered by all the aggro decks in the format. And so I feel like bringing a Yordles and Arms style strategy up against it should be okay. And it's kind of another one of these spots to where I still have to get in my head to where if you have like one bad matchup and one good matchup, then you're still pretty even across the board. And it's not as bad as it sounds. You don't have to beat their good matchup twice. And so it's been kind of tough for me to grasp that idea and get it really working in my brain piece.
Let's get to work.
All right, give me them manas, please. I want all the manas. Is that good? Is that an appropriate emote? Cupcake. All right. Is it the most high-powered play you could make? Absolutely not. Is it deserving of a cupcake? Absolutely. This is some of the downside to the Boom Baboon getting nerfed. He can't block a fearsome unit anymore. He definitely has some weak points coming on out here, but He probably needed it. I'm glad that Riot's come through and kind of nerfed all of these cheap plays that that generate a spell. It's been a little much. All right, now the slight awkwardness in picking up the Yordle Captain. I feel like we can manage. It's the question starts to be, are we ever going to deal combat damage on the ground this game? And we're not. And so I think it's safe to just go ahead and play the Boom Baboon. Bank up to 3 mana. We can get excited something if we need to. But now we just look to switch over to this Yordle Captain based plan. We may find a space to where we get some good hooks next turn and we might actually get a combat in. But I'm not expecting too much out of our ground-based combat. Although the Biggledust was a gigantic addition. Just too many blockers, though. We'll get decent combats here. I think we'll still Biggledust next turn, because it's too unpredictable as to when we'll pick up an additional Poro Cannon. Can you counterspell this with the Get Excited? Guess we'll find out. Looks like I still got a Poro on the board. Welcome, friend. You've been protected. Feels good dropping Get Exciteds on hapless aristocrats. No, it does not feel good. This is also one of these spots as to where I'm curious if we should just be playing an additional copy of Treasured Trash. Given that we're kind of running out of stuff to do, and we're running out a little early. It's of course a terrible card against pirates, but if we're going to be in a kind of slower meta, it has a real opportunity for damage. Oh, he just takes that 5-piece nugget from the captain. Vigio comes to party. Okay. Hang on to the Forge Chief in case we want to get excited. All right. Well, a pretty reasonable chance now for our Yordle Captain to get in for some combat damage. We have the 2 ways to pull units out of combat. We just need to get in for a little touch of damage. Right now, we can hook both of his units out between the Viego and the Evelyn. All right. Nice little combat. Good job, squad. I appreciate the effort you put in. Still a lethal. Good job. I appreciate it. You guys are the best. I remember back at the release of this expansion, whatever it was, I felt like the Biggledust might be the kind of sleeper to be the best card in the set, and so I feel like we might just have to play it. You gotta put your money where your mouth is sometimes and just pull it out there, bring it into battle. Maybe we will. I think the thing that's really getting us in this game, though, is we've got this Poro-centric snowboard for Christmas time, but then we're also playing the Daring Poros. It's a strategy everyone doesn't really pursue, but I think it's a good one. It's the best way to find your way in combat. Paying to win and having the appropriate boards. All right, back into this. I'll keep our bitching to a minimum about playing against Action Kaisa when we just plan on banning it. I wish there was a way around this. There isn't. It kind of is what it is.
Remember, we're the ones who make progress happen.
I think we'll just go ahead and let this happen. There's a world where we pick up a Boom Baboon or a Flame Chompers next turn, and then we might get multiple attacks out of the Forge Chief. Didn't happen. Now, I think we're okay with just a single attack. Like, there's not a ton of units here that are exceptionally good for opponent. And we can just trade with all of our units at this point. Okay. And then I picked up the Calculated Creations. I'm kind of envisioning this world to where we play a Nyandroid, and then we follow up with Poro Cannon. Like, we have a lot of good synergy coming out of our hand. And I want to just hang on to our bro here. Now, it's a little awkward in terms of our mana, but I think this is the way to go about it. Where are you at? Nyandroid. We'll bank 2 on this turn.
If I can save a life, I must.
It's just everything he's doing with Isa is just so much more powerful than what we were doing. Comes in with a Voidling. Is he at 4 keywords now? Okay.
I rise anew.
Let's just go. He seems to be holding a combat trick or some sort, and I don't care to make the trades on board. So this is okay. If he wants to go for like a Kaisa play next turn, then we do have a ton of mana now to where we can take down this action even through a supercharge. So
Field is yours.
doesn't appear to have the Kaisa, or at least he's not ready for Kaisa. Right, the only unfortunate thing here is the amount of Poros we can quickly get on the board. It's not a lot. Wow. Interesting. Why is he pushing this so hard? Just wants to get the flip. He must need to search for Kaisa or something. He wants the predict draw. That feels like a very aggressive play. I wonder if he just has like a bunch of, what do you call the like void abominations in his hand.
Righteously reclaiming.
All right, we're getting this big old Nyandroid going. This feels good, feels fun.
I've licked my wounds too long.
Don't think this is going to be a Biggledust turn. I mean, let's see, this would be 4, 6 from the Biggledust would be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Pretty close to lethals. We should still be able to add Conchologist here before we Biggledust. And say he may just pick up something interesting as well.
Astounding curiosities lie ahead.
Somewhat interesting. The Flash of Brilliance will give us a bonus attack on our Nyandroid.
The color is off.
Progress stay. All right, that could be a useful tool in burning out our opponent. More like you're a useful tool, am I right?
They've breached.
Come out here and talk some trash. Nice, not a bad turn. I have to assume we're in a pretty prime position to win this one now. dig it. Rip him. Hi, GG. Not bad, not bad. Market a 3 and 0. Bust rolling through. Right, next battle. Getting us those big Q times now. We got above 69 LP. Let's got to find the magical opponents for us. There we go. Okay. Ezreal Kennen. It's a deck I hope just doesn't rise in popularity. This is one that's just it can be mega annoying to play against this thing. So just like the play patterns are fairly strange. Interesting treasured trash. Like we have these ways to actually come out and deal with a Kennen, but Kennens are so tough to actually deal with. I think we'll hang on to the treasured trash, but I'll go ahead and say I don't really like this game plan of trying to kill Kennens with pokey sticks. Now on to Poros. Okay. I think we can still hang on to the pokey stick. Like he didn't have a Kennen last turn, so I'm not entirely sure if A, he has it, or B, just doesn't have ways to protect him. But the Daring Poros seem fine. It's not like we have a way to boost him in our hand, and so let's get that chip damage in while we can.
The world's a big place. Let's see all
Ezreal's more of a problem than I really want to deal with, but... Alright, let's see what turns up. Are any of these going to be any good? Probably want the Professor Von Mech just to pick up the width. Like, this deck is very good at just shutting down one unit, so... we'll pick up the Von Mech. We'll have some potentials for next turn. And can't let him just start Mystic Shotting our bros. Yeah, Blade Squire, Starry Scamp, Mushroom Ring. Whoa! Tasty Feyfolk. Okay, okay. Oh, shit. Well, that's not awesome. This game's probably done at this point. I won't give up on it just yet since we're hanging on to this treasured trash and we have a fair amount of stuff in our hand to do, but this is a serious problem we're running into now. Now here's the Kennen. Okay. GG. I'm so curious about the Tasty Feyfolk, as I really like the idea of it against pirates, but it strikes me as weird with Ezreal Kennen. That deck it just gets completely domed by pirates. It's like a 75-25% favorite in pirates' favor, and so at what point are you just going to say, well, I have to ban that, right? Or what point are you going to say there's no reason to tech in cards against this because the matchup's just so bad? Like, when you're looking at a matchup like Pirates, what does adding Tasty Feyfolk do to your win rate? Does it take it from a 25% win rate to a 30% win rate, or a 35% win rate? Or even if it's so powerful, it adds 15% win rate and takes you up to 40? Is that like enough to make you really interested in playing it? And I don't know. Maybe for the purposes of grinding ladder it is, but for the purposes of playing, the purposes of playing and something like seasonals, it doesn't seem to make much sense to me. But here I'm gonna full mulligan. I'm just gonna look for 1s and 2-drops. Like, I don't even want to hang on to Mystic Shot here. I just want to get a cheap dude on the board now. I'm going to be discarding our tool to get this Lulu combo down. As we're approaching a Lulu attack on turn 4, it's not nearly as important as keeping this around for turn 3, right? Most certainly trade with a precious pet if he gives us the option, and then we'll see if a Make It Rain is imminent. Doesn't appear to be. For the most parts, pirates have really started to cut Make It Rains down. They typically just play one copy now, but you're still stuck having to partially play around it. I wonder what that pass means if we're going to run into a tentacle thing. Not a tentacle slam, a Riptide Sermon, whatever that one's called. It's a bit painful here, but I just can't really feel good about letting them like pass on that turn without the mana. It feels just like just the worst possible thing that pirates can be doing. Send everybody. Probably rather take the hook onto Precious Pet. We'll see if he blocks with Steve. If he wants to get the Twisted Fate in, I'm okay with Mystic shotting him down. Protect our Lulu here. She's a very high-valued unit for us. Especially when opponent's just like not really doing anything here. Alright, so this is looking like a spot to where it would be fairly reasonable to get a scrap heap unit down. Especially now that he doesn't have the mana to Riptide Sermon. How much of this are we willing to give up on, though? We can just, like, I don't care to lose the Daring Poro. It does suck to lose it in this spot, but are we willing to give up our Lulu? I mean, probably are. This is a tough one. It's like I'm curious what the makeup of his hand is. It has to be like a bunch of just Riptide Sermons and Decimates and stuff. I'm not quite willing to just come out and take a bunch of damage here. I'll keep the Daring Poro because we're gonna have opportunity to do stuff with our created units next turn in the Biggledust, but I don't feel like this is quite the spot to where I'm ready to just take a bunch of damage. Professor Von Mech is quite good here as well. Say, give me them generated units, please. Now he's got to make it rain. Wow. Talk about hitting perfect. At least we got the refill in Von Mech here. Oh boy, and the Jagged Butcher. Whew. Nice work, dude. Nice work. Okay, so I don't want to get like super invested in this turn now. We're probably not going to have good attacks. I mean, the way he's sequenced this, it's very strange to see all these units coming down. Because it seems like he's just played this matchup super, super slow. Definitely getting boomed here. Drop us to 5. Probably just wrecked. Pretty much dead. So we'll do the Bloodletter into the Architect into Lulu.
Reporting in? Beyond imagination. That is the Durand way.
The Architect is an interesting hit with these Flame Chompers giving them Formidable. We'll see if that comes down to something next turn. I still suspect that we're just fucked this game, but we'll see. We'll put it forth. Okay, not really upset about losing Lulu.
Follow me. I know where I'm going.
Look at this Flame Chomper. He's ready to take down the 5/5 tentacle. Oh boy, what treat is this going to be? Just a burn spell to face? I don't know. I'm curious. Like that Make It Rain was absolutely devastating, and us having to take the full attack on the previous turn. I mean, I don't know how much better of a spot we would have been in if it had put at least one tick on our flame chompers, but we certainly wouldn't have taken as much damage. But I mean, that's the thing with pirates, right? I don't think this is a spectacular matchup. I don't think it's a bad one, but pirates will just outright win against tons and tons and tons of matchups, and it really belongs at the top of the meta. I don't think it's going to get the recognition it deserves coming into seasonals. Oh fuck. That's not good. That's not a good draw. We were trying to mulligan into our early game boom baboon style plays, or just an actual any cheap play. Did not find it.
Let's get to work.
This might work out. Rev up those engines, Forge Chief. I believe in you.
Coming through.
Alright, you want to block? No?
Keep it up.
Gave you a chance. One shot.
Break their spirits and their souls.
Alright, so how do we want to go about this? I'm not super interested in the interested in the Biggledust. I think we can go ahead and just discard it. We're going to be on a Yordle Captain plan over the next few turns. And so how can we actually get usage out of that Yordle Captain? I'm kind of okay with all of these. This is another one where I think we probably want the Professor Von Mech. Then the downside to that is we just don't have the means to get a good unit down, right? I was hoping to hit one of the cheaper 2s or 3s, that even just like the 4/4 unit. Because if we're going to play a Yordle Captain next turn, then a Yordle Captain the turn after that, then none of these mechs are very relevant. I think we're probably in a spot just to pick up a Trumpet Decker, but the Von Mech is moderately interesting. Not amped about coming out and just trying to go big against Tarek here, but is what it is. All right, Yordle Captain, get in there and boom him. Oh, that's a nice place for the chime to land. Okay. So we do still have this pokey stick that we can play. We couldn't have just led in here. He's gonna pick up tough on his Broadwing now. So if we want to pop it, we have to pop it now. I guess it's at least not big enough to kill any of our plays. Okay. Pretty brutal. We'll be dead next turn to a rally if he has one. But we had a lot riding on that. I mean, I guess we could have just taken like the support unit off of the Yordle search, whatever that thing is called. But man, that feels so bad. Interesting in the Keeper's Verdict. This does let us say, like, whenever he tries to rally on Tarek, just send him to the top of the deck.
Ours is the one true light.
Can't tell if that's going to be his angle this turn or not. Let's wait and see. This is, like, still a pretty good pass for opponent, but if we let him rally, we're just going to lose the game. Especially if it's a Golden Aegis and not a Relentless Pursuit.
Climb well, and good luck on your journey.
Maybe we should have just done this last turn, but like just playing it and leaving us with 1 mana and passing the turn doesn't feel super good. It's like 10 coming at us for the moment. I don't super care. Like, we can pokey stick down something if we want. Like, we would probably want to actually pokey stick the Fleet Feather Tracker, but I think we just got to get units on board at this point. See if we can't get something happening next turn. We need to pick up like a cheap discard and see if we can't get a good like Trumpet Tecker and Flame Chomper's turn happening. Oh boy, is this going to be a concerted strike too? Oh boy. Oh, an Aegeus. Interesting. So that's big enough to take down? Okay, sure. That's tough. I feel like that's really what that game came down to, though. Was like that was fairly questionable on the Tarek turn where we just kept passing back and forth, but we would have 100% lost that game if he had a rally there, which it looks like he did, unless he just immediately top decked it. But I think that turn 3 is where that one really got nasty, as we needed a good and strong unit to play, and we just didn't find it. Okay, on to the next one, though. Up against Aphelios Victor. I don't have high hopes for this Forge Chief in this match. They just have too many 1-drops to go along with it. There are versions that have started to cut out the Zonite Urchin, but I don't think she ever really gets anything done here. I think we're okay to just mulligan her away, and then stick to the Poro Cannon and the Urchin. More need to find a Boom Baboon or a Flame Chompers or something. Give me some more of them values, please. Is that where we're headed? Are we really heading down the path of the Poro Cannon this early? I mean, they shouldn't have tons of answers to it. Okay, let's give it a shot. This has looked to be on the burn plan right from the start. Another Urchin. It's like you're about to get discarded. People are trying to do stuff with their Poros. So this is a fairly real turn, and that I would assume that he's probably just picked up the Calibrum, the 3 damage thing. But do we want to like actually discard our burn here? I mean, we might have 1 turn of getting extra damage in here. Get excited was just meant to be. But I don't think he's going to go for a +2, a 2-cost unit. It feels like he would just be pulling in a 3 damage to a unit here. And now we're just stuck trying to go Poros. All right. Boop, boop. This would be pretty cool if we had a Biggledust here. Just get it for the extra 8 damage and then be in burn range right from here. I'd be on board with that. So weird. Like, I'm curious why he didn't do the 3 damage last turn. And then now do we actually, like, even care about the Aphelios? I think we just keep waiting. The only Aphelios thing I think we'll try to interact with is if he drops a lifesteal. Then we have to kind of make a decision. He did pick up Severum up here. Can't deal with Severum if he puts it onto Victor, but it is what it is. There's the Boom Baboon, about a half hour late. Oh, fuck, and he hit Overwhelm on his Victor? Oh, this is the worst. We could have put the Zonite Urchin in front of Victor and then killed it with a Pokey Stick, but now that he's hit Overwhelm, he's going to be guaranteed to hit it. God, this is fucking abysmal. Okay. Alright, there's nothing to say. I guess we can wait and see if we pick up a Biggledust, but... Oh, man, what a shitty way to go. He goes double stun, okay. Yordle Captain, not who we're looking for. It's insane. Okay. There's just no way we can hit 18 from here. Even with the Biggledust, it's only +6. Oh, man. Brutal. All right. On to the final battle, though. Oh, man. We've fallen below 69. Oh, we're down to 46. Losing so many LPs. Get it together, Mono Lulu. Get it together. Painful. Gotta find that match. It feels like we're just lacking like a little bit of value. It feels like whenever you're playing the Draven Scion, you have so many things that are just like free discards, whether or not that's the Fallen Rider or the Lost Soul. Just like they all feel very free, and you're not actually losing out on anything. This deck, like if we aren't hitting our Boom Baboons, then we're like really hurting in terms of what we can discard. We just like run out of stuff to do, and I don't feel like there's a ton extra. We could look to, instead of playing Forge Chief, add in the 1-cost Yordle that generates a card, so we have just another thing to discard when these value plays are coming about. But man, it's just been ultra painful for the most part. I'm going to go ahead and trade. He's playing Demacia Bard. I assume he's going to have some amount of early plays. And we're not just going to be able to set up a turn 3 to where we have a Lulu, a Flame Chompers, a Forge Chief, and then our opponent has nothing on board. Looks like we're going to have to physically play Flame Chompers here. Well, we can get excited, I guess. Bird's not the greatest of targets, but does give us an option. Let's wait and see if we find a better unit next turn. It's a little dangerous doing it this way. It gives him the opportunity to add in some combat tricks. But we need something with this set of cards to go right. Shouldn't be as bad now. Like if he wants to protect a bird with a sharp sight, then he may not have a unit to follow up with. But it's still kind of rough. Okay. Bring in those elites, my dude. He did have plays. Interesting. Guess he's just protecting his Battlesmith. So this is kind of like a big decision turn, right? Do we want to interact with this Battlesmith? Or do we want to just switch to a burn plan? And if we're on a burn plan, we're just going to start ignoring his units. We can get in for 5 damage next turn with Poro Cannon, a Lulu boost, and then the additional Poro. That would be 5 in total, take him to 8. Then we have a little bit of burn in hand. I think we're just like short. I think we have to go to Poros. Like Mystic shotting the Battlesmith when he has 7 stats on board is not going to get us anywhere. Gonna hang on to this treasured trash though. That looks like a way we might be able to finish this game on turn 7. I think that's okay. We can block the Battlesmith. We can throw a block in front of the Cytheria if we want. I was intending to go into the next turn to hook Cytheria out of combat and then make him force a trade onto Lulu. I don't think we're quite there. Let's just take it. He's going to have another rally to actually push damage in. And so hopefully we just have enough width here. The Boom Baboon will get us some width. Let us play 2 units this turn. He puts his 4/4 in front of Lulu, takes 5, falls to 8. We're gonna have to hopefully be able to close this out with a treasured trash on our next turn, or our next attack token, our turn 7. All right, ready to block stuff. let's drop them in there. The Poro cannon. Well, that can guarantee that we get the width. We can have 6 units on board this turn. Oh, cool, he's just attacking. All right, let's see if he's got another rally. That's all this will come down to. We can at least, like, hopefully safely defend against it. We don't have to Mystic Shot this turn. Like, it would be nice to have 1 less card in our hand, but we can safely use it on his turn. He shouldn't be able to interact with the Mystic Shot in any way. All right, 7 cards. What do we got here? Oh, I thought Devourer of the Depths was the elusive. It's not. I see this +3/+3 Taric thing in here. What other good choices do we got? Transfusion is some damage. I think we just picked up enough combat tricks to do all this. So I'm going to start with the Daring. I'm going to put a damage on the Daring, boost the other one, and then we'll try and save the Riposte. The Riposte isn't going to be enough to protect from a Concerted Strike, but we can Riposte the other unit and then punch in for enough damage on the following turn, right? We could deal 6 this turn, and then we could do an additional 2 the following turn with our Mystic Shot. All right, good job, deck. And so that was tough. That was a tough set of games. I think if I'm going to want to try this some more, again, I think we have to get this Forge Chief out of here. We're just not finding the games to where that mana is relevant enough, and we really need this stuff to discard. And so I think the Forge Chief would have to go. We would have to add in Yordle Squire, and that gets us like a lot closer with at least having these generated cards and then having the discards run through that. But I'm not sure how I felt about this. It's like I do like having a lot of these very cheap plays that we can come down and just throw in front of pirates, but it just felt like the game, the like late game was kind of lacking. It's like if we're going to be playing all of these cards, what makes them better than playing like Scion? And the Scion match against pirates is fairly brutal. It's very favored towards the pirates, but do you ever just go and like change your removal suite to make it a little bit better? And that's where it seems like kind of feels a little bit odd to me, as if you want to say design your removal suite to have and you typically play Mystic Shot, get excited, Noxus Blast and Decimate, or at least that's the way we do. We like to play the burn plan when it comes to Draven Scion. And then we do have the kind of cheap plays to go along with it. It's like, I'm just having a hard time envisioning Draven Scion being like a little bit better than this. It misses out on the opportunities that you have from Lulu to get the Flame Chompers going, but then you have like a little bit more value. I don't know. I'm having kind of questionable thoughts on this. It feels like it's just not quite there in terms of being being the deck we're looking for seasonals. It's like I'm not hype about Draven Scion. Its matchups, it is good against like the control decks because Scion's so powerful against them, but I'm like at a loss. It feels like, at least like looking at the stats, I think this deck was supposed to have a reasonable Pirates matchup. If like right, if you pull up Legna's site and pull up the Lulu Bandle City PNZ and check the Pirates match, it lists it as good. It is a pretty small sample size of only 27 games, but if that's even off, like 10% over, then I'm actually kind of okay with having a deck that's a coin flip against Pirates and then has some game in other places. And so I'm not like, that's where it gets like odd to me though, right? If we want to pull up Draven Scion, it looks like much worse. If I can pull Lulu out, like this, Pirate should be the top match. And then like, what's so different between a typical Draven Scion list that when it runs up against Pirates, it's running at a 36% win rate compared to Lulu? And that's where I'm like having trouble. Like, it's like I take a peek at this list and look at it and say, is it really just the addition of Pokestick? That can't be enough. They can do stuff like drop a bunch of 1-drops with Poro Cannon, but you're playing Poro Cannon over there as well. Like, I don't see what is missing from this list out of Pirates. It just seems very odd. I can't. That's like one of the big reasons I wanted to try this deck today, was to see how it stood up against Pirates and if it felt kind of reasonable or coin flippy, and if it was okay, like what's the transition from this over to Draven Scion? Like Draven Scion does again have like a bunch of dead cards like Noxus Blast and Decimate, but it doesn't feel like it's that different enough to be just a huge underdog to Pirates like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll poke around with Draven Scion a little bit more today. We'll probably come at you with Poppy Tarek tomorrow. You got to see that one a little bit here today. I have some thoughts on making the Pirates matchup not as miserable there as well, and maybe that'll be where we land. Again, I'm just not the hugest fan of bringing the triple rally lineup, given that it can be kind of picked on a little bit, and you can run into some tough matchups to win, and it feels like all too tight together in terms of the game, the deck's game plan. But it might be where we end up landing. And so, interesting stuff. We'll just have to continue on, fight forth, fight harder, and see how things go. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for us today. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you learned how to Lulu a little bit better. Maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.